So let's look at this type of query that's called a subquery. And what it's all about is embedding a kind of query within a query. And so this is the sort of formal syntax you can see here. So what we're really going to do is, instead of actually running SQL over a table, we're sort of effectively we're going to sort of get information from another query, a sort of query inside our query, and use that to do a calculation. I think the easiest way to do this is to actually look at an example of the kinds of things you have to use a subquery for. So let's look at this one here, which is find all the people who earn more than the average salary. So all the employees who earn more than the average salary. So we start off and we think, okay, how do we do this? Well, the first thing that we need to know is the average salary. And so we can simply write down select average salary from emp. And that will run, it's a function, it will return the average salary of all the people who are in the emp table. Now, of course, what we're looking for is all the people who earn more than that average salary. So if it was show me all the people who earn more than 30,000, we know how to write that. It would be sort of select star from emp where sal greater than 30,000. So instead of using the 30,000, what we can do is we can use that statement to actually say, show me all the people whose salary is more than that. So let's see what that looks like. Here we go. So we've got our outside query and our sort of subquery, the inside query. So the bit on the bottom, select average sale from emp. What that does is that calculates the average salary. And then we find all the people in the outer bit of the SQL, find all the people whose salary is greater than or equal to that. And if you run that, that's what you get. So how do you actually know when you should be doing a sort of sub-query? Well, there are some sort of signals from the type of query. What you find is something like this. So let's look at this one. Find the employee who earns the least money. And often it's when there's an attribute that's required in the output set. So in other words, some table column like employee, but then you've got some aggregate function, one of those like least or most or average. So find the person who earns the least money, for example. And if you're sort of starting out in SQL, you might try something like this, ename, min sal. And that can't work because, of course, min sal returns a single value, doesn't it? It's the minimum value, the minimum salary. Whereas ename, well, there could be lots of people earning that minimum salary. So there's a sort of disjoint here between ename, which could have many values, and min sal, which is one value. So there's that notion there of an attribute and an aggregate function. An attribute's going to return many values, and a function that's going to return a single value. And there's a mismatch. It can't work. So look for those. This is how you would approach it. First thing we need to do, of course, is to find the person who has the minimum salary. So that will return some value, whatever it is. And we just use a function to do that. And then, of course, what comes next is we find the people whose salary matches that value. So we can go where sal equals, and notice how I'm wrapping up the subquery in brackets there, where sal equals whatever the value is, 18,000 for example. So say the minimum salary was 18,000, we find all the people whose salary is 18,000, which would be March. Now, of course, in this instance, we're just getting one row back, but it's entirely possible that we could have lots of people earning the same amount of money. There could be lots of people earning 18,000. And that's why this subquery actually works. We get one minimum salary, and obviously in this instance there's only one person earning the minimum salary, but if we ran this over a bigger table, we could have lots of people earning that minimum salary. So we'd get lots of rows back at that point.